Greetings from Owen Field with the Tulsa World OU Sports Extra team. I am Nate Feken, joined by Mason Young and Eric Bailey after a 28-11 Sooners win over SMU. This was a game, Brent Venables said it afterwards, that I don't know if they maybe would have pulled this out last year. The key stat I thought he mentioned in postgame was that they held their last two opponents 7 quarters, no touchdowns. That's that longest stretch, according to Brent, in 20 years. So quite the stat. What'd you see from the defense today, Mason?
Yeah, well, I think Brent Venables talked about it. The biggest difference is there's just more comfortability and more confidence in what they're doing in terms of schemes compared to last year. He talked about this is a game that might have gotten away from them last year, but the defense was all over the place. You look at Danny Stutzman, he had 17 tackles, which was one off a career high. He just played an insane game. He was all over the field. He had 2.5 tackles for loss. He was in the backfield. He was moving side to side. He wreaked havoc on SMU's offense. And they had some great special teams play as well. You think about Peyton Bowen blocking a punt for them in the first half, and that led to their first touchdown of the game. So that was huge for them as well. Jaron Canick got a stop on 4th and 2 relatively early in the game. That was big for them. And then the breakup at the end by Bowen on SMU's 4th down play to sort of seal the deal almost. SMU had one more drive after that, but Justin Harrington got an interception to put it away. And, yeah, just a lot of really good, solid points for the defense. Like you said, pretty incredible that through 2 games they've only allowed 11 points.
Yeah, those 2 turnovers were key in this one. For the offense, I know I looked up from shooting down on the field at one point, and they had 88 passing yards in the second half. Reminiscent of the Wishbone days, Eric. What did you see from the offense today?
No passes over 20 yards. No pass attempts that went 20 yards. I mean, I asked Brent Venables in postgame what happened. They said they were playing a soft zone coverage. Just took what the defense gave them. Kind of surprising after throwing for 400 yards last week against Arkansas State. And what we saw, too, was a lot of run game. Tawee Walker really established himself maybe as the featured back. Jeff Levy says it's still running back by committee, but Tawee Walker ran for 117 yards, 21 carries, so I think he's really taken a big step toward maybe being that featured back. Saw the Jackson Arnold package. Doesn't have a name yet. Both coaches, the coordinator, Jeff Levy, Brent Venables says it's called sub. So we'll see. Maybe it's up to the media to come up with that. Didn't pick up a 4th and 1, so I know there's still some wrinkles they need to fix. But I thought that was impressive that we're going to see more of Jackson Arnold run that package. But when it came down to scoring points in the fourth quarter, 14-11 with 12 minutes to go, they came through, scored a touchdown, found a way to score points when they needed. Offense still has some work to do. I know that there was some grumbling in Owen Field. The stadium was kind of grumbling when they couldn't pick up some first downs. There was a 3rd and 7 in the second half when they ran the football, which really shocked me. I mean, I know that there was some grumbling. So we'll see this offense. They're really not going to be tested, I think, until Texas, it really looks like, because they got Tulsa, they got Cincinnati, they got Iowa State. So there's some time to fix things. Not that any of those games are going to be easy. They just have to execute better.
Sure, yeah. And speaking of the crowd, quite the reaction every time Arnold came in the game. A little Tebow-esque, would you say?
I think so, and it reminds you of Blake Bell. When Blake Bell came and ran that key moments of games, too. And the crowd loves Jackson Arnold. We knew that when he signed his letter of intent. We knew that was what it was going to be like. And the thing I want to see is him throw the football. I think that's what everyone wants to see. You think about the Arkansas State game. He was 11 for 11. We know he can throw the ball. So I'm waiting to see those wrinkles when he comes in, when you're expecting him to run, and he pulls up and throws the football. So I think there'll be a little bit more of that. Dylan Gabriel in post-game, I think that he knows that, this wasn't the game that he expected to have, but they did enough to win the game. And like you said to start this segment, do they win this game last year? I don't know. They found a way, so I think that's big. The most important stat, 2-0. That's where you needed to be after this game.
Yeah, something Dylan Gabriel mentioned was attitude and mentality. Off-season work was big and kind of changing that. And the Belldozer was the Blake Bell package. So we need to put our thinking caps on and come up with a nickname. Or you, the people, come up, let these guys know what should be the nickname for the Jackson Arnold package. Mason, did anybody defensively stand out? I know you mentioned a couple key names there.
Yeah, I thought Key Lawrence also had a really good game. He's one I didn't mention earlier, but he forced the fumble that Danny Stutzman recovered, and OU didn't end up getting anything out of that. They had the drive that Eric alluded to where Jackson Arnold came in and they couldn't convert the 4th and 1. But that was a decent shot of momentum. Definitely not the turning point in the game, but a good play. And Lawrence is an upperclassman that they need consistency from to continue to have depth and be able to rotate a lot of guys at safety.
Mason, I know there was a special guest on the sidelines, something maybe an unwanted guest from from how people are reacting. This is something you're going to do a deep dive into for everybody that subscribes to the Tulsa World and reads the Tulsa World. Fill everybody in.
Yeah, so former Baylor coach Art Briles was on the sideline tonight. He's obviously the father-in-law of OU offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby. And obviously there was some really bad stuff that happened when they were together at Baylor. So Brent Venables didn't find out, apparently, that Art Briles was on OU sidelines wearing an OU shirt until a few minutes before his press conference. And he said it's already being dealt with, whatever that means. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Jeff Lebby spoke post-game, and he really just said, that's my father-in-law, that's the grandfather of my children. He didn't really answer the question about how some people might perceive that after everything that happened with Art Briles at Baylor. This will be a very interesting situation to monitor going into next week. I would expect Brent Venables and Jeff Lebby will probably have to address it again.
Eric, what can viewers and readers take away from you? What are you working on?
Well, I think we'll analyze this, and this was a real game. I mean, that's what it is. Last week, the 73-0, you really didn't learn much about this team. I think you learned what this team's going to be like when stressed, and I think that's important. There was a lot to learn from this game, especially with the offense, about how they need more big plays, more chunk plays, more plays. And Jeff Lebby said maybe he was a little bit too conservative in this game. They wanted to eat clock, and when it's 14-11 with 12 minutes to go, that's not where you want to be. You don't want a one-possession game. So I think that this is a good building block for this program to work upon. They got Tulsa next week. They'll be probably at least 28-point favorites. It'll be almost a home game when you play in Tulsa with all the OU fans. So I think this was a good game. They needed to be tested. They needed to be challenged. I think that got what they wanted. Most importantly, they got a win. But they got a lot of film to look and take back and say, okay, we need to do this better. We need to do that better. And I think that was the most important thing for this team.
I've heard the press box at TU next week is going to be pretty full, so I hope you guys get your elbow room ready for that one.
Exactly.
That'll wrap things up from the Tulsa World OU Sports Extra team from here in Norman. Thank you for watching, and make sure to read what we have coming up for all of you out there.